Ever wish you had like a cheat sheet for navigating museums, in English? Well, today's deep dive, it's like having a personal language coach, someone who
Yeah.
can just like cram all that info right into this episode. We're diving into this super cool resource. It's actually a script for, get this, a language learning video
Yeah.
to help you confidently stroll those museum halls and sound like, you belong there.
What I really like about this resource is it breaks down a typical museum visit into these like bite-sized dialogues,
Uh-huh.
almost like a phrase book, but way more practical. It's designed to get you speaking right away.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Yeah. Section 1, ticket triumph, getting you inside. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Mm.
Heart pounding as you approach the ticket counter, like hoping you don't mess up those basic phrases.
Right. It's that very first interaction, and it can feel so intimidating in another language. But this source, it totally gets that, and it gives you those ready-to-go phrases like, hello, I'd like to buy 2 tickets for the art museum, please.
So simple, right?
Right.
But just knowing those magic words, it just takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
And it doesn't stop there. It gives you options. Let's say you're just browsing. You could casually be like, just looking around, thanks.
Exactly. And what I love is alongside the language, it weaves in these subtle cultural insights. Like it makes a point to distinguish between, say, general admission and guided tours, right?
Okay, yeah.
So general admission, that's your ticket to the main exhibits. But a guided tour, that offers a deeper dive led by experts.
So if I was super into a specific artist or like, a particular exhibition, a guided tour would be the way to go?
You got it. Guided tours are made for that kind of deep dive. They give you context, stuff you wouldn't pick up just wandering around. They'll point out details you might miss and share all the juicy stories behind the art.
Oh, cool.
They can be a bit pricier than just general admission, but a lot of museums have discounts on certain days or for members.
Good to know. So it's like choosing your own museum adventure. Casual or full-on art enthusiast, you've got the language for it, thanks to this script. Okay, so we've got our tickets, feeling good. But then what happens when we're actually inside? I'll admit, I've done my fair share of pointing and nodding.
The international language of I'm trying.
Totally. But this source, it says, hey, you can move beyond, excuse me. It's time for section 2, chatting with confidence beyond, excuse me. Okay, so picture this. You're in this incredible museum, amazing art everywhere, and you want to, really engage with it, go a bit deeper.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? How do you go beyond just like, ooh, pretty colors? How do you actually, start a conversation about the art?
And that is where this resource really comes into its own. It takes that, which, let's be honest, we've all used a million times in so many situations.
Yeah.
And it shows you how to build on it, how to take it further. It's like you're unlocking different levels of like museum interaction.
Unlocking levels. I like that.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like getting someone's attention. It's about knowing what to say next. Can you give us an example? What sort of phrases are we talking about here?
Okay, let's imagine you're on a guided tour, right?
Yeah.
And there's this one piece you're really drawn to, you're curious about, this resource, and it gives you the words to say like, excuse me, could you tell me more about this exhibit?
Yeah.
It's polite, it gets straight to the point, and it shows you're genuinely interested.
And that gives the guide an opening to share their knowledge. Yeah.
Exactly. They might give you a bit of historical background or talk about the artist's techniques, maybe even some cool behind-the-scenes anecdotes.
I love that.
And the dialogue in the source, it actually prepares you for those different responses, so you feel more comfortable no matter which way the conversation goes. That's so smart. Because I think even if your English isn't perfect, if you can kind of grasp the gist of what they're saying, it helps you feel so much more confident.
100%.
Yeah.
And speaking of confidence, the source also has you covered with practical questions. Like, how long will this exhibit be on display? Which, let's face it, is pretty essential information.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing worse than finding an exhibition you love and realizing you've only got one day left to see it. But this source, it's giving us a cheat sheet for all those essential questions. Okay, but this next one, this might be my favorite. It gives you the phrase, could you recommend any particular pieces to pay attention to?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
You're basically asking for a personalized tour.
It's like a treasure map, and it works whether you're on a guided tour or just, chatting with a staff member. Imagine you're standing in front of this, like, mind-blowing sculpture, right? You could say, excuse me, but this piece is incredible. Do you know anything about the artist's process?
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's next-level museum game right there. You're not just passively looking at art, you're actively seeking information, starting conversations.
That's it. You're becoming part of the experience. And what I love is that this source, it doesn't just focus on you talking to the museum staff. It also gives you the language to discuss the art with your friends, your family, whoever you're with.
Ah, yes. Section 3. Sounding like you belong. Museum chatter. This is where things get really fun. Because, let's be real, sounding natural in a new language, it's not just about memorizing a bunch of phrases, right?
Right.
It's about those spontaneous reactions, the wow moments.
Capturing the feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's about those authentic sounding things you might overhear other visitors saying, like, this artist's use of color is incredible, or it really makes you think.
Like you're in the flow.
Exactly. It's like they've bottled the essence of museum chatter and given us the formula. And let's be honest, sometimes a simple wow is all you need when you see a piece of art that moves you.
Totally.
Speaking of wow moments, I had this experience once.
Oh, I do love a good museum story. Tell me everything.
Okay, so there I was, trying to impress my friend with my, extensive art knowledge. And I was talking about this one painting, and I completely, and I mean completely butchered the artist's name.
Yeah.
Oh, I mangled it. I mean, beyond recognition. I'm pretty sure I even invented a whole new art movement in the process.
Oh, no.
My friend, she burst out laughing.
I bet you were the only one who even noticed. But you know what? That actually brings up a good point. Something this source, it kind of touches on. That fear of making mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
It can be such a blocker when you're trying to speak another language,
Totally. That fear of sounding silly, it can really hold you back.
It really can. But that's the great thing about having these phrases from the source. It's like having training wheels for your English.
Yeah.
You can practice, you can build your fluency, and you don't have to put pressure on yourself to come up with some perfectly witty remark on the spot. It's about giving yourself permission to learn,
Yeah.
and to grow, even if you trip over a few words along the way. Which, let's face it, sometimes is half the fun.
Honestly, yeah. And where better to embrace that than a museum, right?
Right.
It's a space for exploration, for thinking, for having those aha moments.
Totally. And this source, it really encourages that. It's not just about being able to talk about the art, but about how the art makes you feel. Remember that line from the Enjoying the Visit dialogue? It said something like, it really makes you think about environmental issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's deep.
It is. It really is. It shows how art has this power to spark these bigger conversations, and how language, it becomes the bridge that connects you to the art, but also to the people who are experiencing it with you. Okay, so we've covered a lot today, from working up the courage to buy your ticket to sounding like a natural while discussing, sculpture. If our listeners were to take away just a couple of key points from this whole deep dive, what would you say they are?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, don't underestimate the power of those simple phrases when you say them with confidence.
Yeah.
A simple hello, a genuine thank you, it sets the tone.
Sends out those good vibes. It's like saying, hey, I'm open to chatting.
Exactly. Secondly, don't be afraid to actually talk to the museum staff.
Yeah.
They're a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
A well-placed question, it can open up a whole new level of appreciation for what you're looking at.
Like having your own personal art expert right there, even if it's just for a minute or two. And you've got the phrases to make it happen.
Exactly. And lastly, don't forget, museums are meant to be enjoyed.
Yes.
Don't get so caught up in speaking perfect English that you forget to just, experience the art. Let your curiosity guide you. And don't be afraid to use your language skills, however they are, to connect with what you're seeing and with the people around you.
So well said. I always say museums are they're like those choose your own adventure books.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, I like that.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Oh.
And today, this deep dive has given you the tools to get even more, to really make the most of your next museum adventure.
It has. So as you're wandering through your next gallery, I'm curious, what will you say?
Ooh, such a good question to think about. And we want to hear from you, our listeners. Share your museum experiences with us. Maybe even try out some of these phrases. Let us know how it goes. And remember, every deep dive, it's tailored for you. So what do you want to explore next? Until then, happy exploring.